places or on YouTube on the Plot Avenger channel. This is your old friend John Boyer, Professor Boyer from Virginia Tech. How are the Fighting Hokies? Here in the middle of the greatest pandemic the 21st century's ever seen, but it won't be the last. I'm starting off a little bit early tonight, even though I am due to start live streaming, live podcasting. I don't even know. What do you call it now? Just being live? On the intrawebs here to do the final of the 4-part series I've been doing on China since last Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And I'm only going to do a bit of it here because we got full-fledged channel status on the platform named Twitch, which does not allow for multiple live streaming from different platforms. So I'm here. Hopefully some of you are here, bored, and perhaps want to hear about military machinations that China has been making in the last 10 to 20 years. Maybe a few predictions about where they're going into the future of China projecting its power further afield outside of China proper. And that you're interested enough in that to join us on the Twitch channel so you can be more interactive and ask questions and do all these other cool things and maybe get some perks that are going on there as well. Let me see if I can remember how to do this. So it's presentation view, right? Go to presentation view. Look at that. So for any of you on the Facebooks and the YouTubes who joined us at all last week, we did a 3 out of 4 series on what's been going on in China. And particular emphasis on perhaps the frictional relationship developing between China and the United States in particular on the world stage. And as always, I had it in as my intent to lecture maybe a short lecture on Monday, maybe a medium-sized lecture on Monday, another one on Tuesday to wrap it up. But then we lectured for about 2 to 2.5 hours on Monday, another 2 to 2.5 hours on Tuesday, and another 2.5 to 3 hours on Wednesday, and we still didn't get through it all. So we left off last time talking about China's territorial titillations, where I talked specifically and ad nauseum about Taiwan and Tibet, two provinces, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, of China. At least that's China's opinion of both of those named territories. And I also talked about an increasingly assertive China, also making some border disputes with other countries, namely India, where there have been in the last month and a half open hostilities between the Chinese and Indian armies in these bizarre high-altitude mountainous outpost where people were literally beating each other to death with sticks because none of them have guns. So for tonight, I want to get to our last part of this, which is, there you go, part 4. We will definitively and definitely finish tonight talking about the rise of China, what it means, and for this episode, power projections even beyond. So Tibet, Inner Mongolia, Xinjiang, these are territories within China that it's had to assert wrest control back over since 1949 when it became free and united and independent once again. That's China. And Taiwan, again, depending on who you ask, is a province of China. China would call it a renegade province of China. A lot of people think Taiwan is an independent state. It has never been that. But where it will end up in the future as a full-fledged member state or independent sovereign state versus a sub-state of China, one does not know. It appears that it's heading back into being consumed back into China proper, into Mother China proper. But that was all the stuff we were talking about with China getting its house in order, increasing its wealth, becoming more assertive, and unifying its land holdings. That's really what that whole last lecture was about. This is a whole new era, and this is a whole new lecture because this is all about, okay, now China's powerful enough that it's projecting its power outside of its historic homeland. And this is where you start to bump up into other nations in the world, other states, other sovereign states in the world, other world powers that are starting to feel China push outward. I won't even call it friction yet, although there are some places where it's definitely friction. But there's pressure growing of the surrounding countries around China. Let's call it South Korea and Japan and Indonesia, Australia, Taiwan, depending on where you want to put it, the Philippines, even in the interior, India and Pakistan. And there's this whole thing called the One Belt, One Road Initiative, where China is pushing economic growth and development and strategic ties to something on the order of 40 or 50 other countries in the world in this simultaneous movement to expand its influence and soft power outwards. On top of that, it's starting to push its hard power outwards. For those that have followed this lecture, I've probably mentioned several times, soft power versus hard power. Soft power is you make nice with other countries. You give them loans. You set up trade blocks or trade initiatives between them. You invest in their economies and they invest in yours, and therefore you have some influence over them. Or you stick up for them at the United Nations, or you form a defense pact where you say, I'll protect you smaller countries as long as you're in the club with me. Those are all soft power initiatives, and any country in the world can do it. The United States has been doing it for 100 years. Hard power is the opposite, as the adjectives may connotate. And hard power is military power. We have raw power, and we can come beat the hell out of you if you don't do what we want you to do. That's the topic for tonight. And this involves China moving outwards, claiming other territories outside of China, forming networks outside of China, creating military bases outside of China proper, that is causing perhaps some consternation amongst world powers and China's neighbors alike. That's what we're going to talk about tonight, and I'm going to wrap it up here, and I will start by getting back to the end of the lecture about China in the modern age, where I went through 5,000 years of China in the first 6 to 8 hours of the lecture. I can wrap up China in the modern era of the last 20 years, I think, in less than 20 minutes to get to some of these particular issues that I've now brought up. Soft power extension, hard power extension, what it means to China, what it means to its neighbors, what it means to the rest of the wider world, particularly the United States of America. Not because I live here, but because the United States of America is the premier world power and has been the sole premier world power since 1990. And now China is joining the ranks of the United States. And we now live in a two-world power system for the first time in my lifetime. Because even back during the Cold War, there were other powers. The Soviet Union, of course, was the other premier world power, but China was still a rising power at that time. The UK was still quite powerful. The EU was becoming more powerful. We now have entered an age of it is a serious great power rivalry system in the world between the United States and China. Russia's none too happy to hear me say something like that, but that's perhaps another podcast or a whole lecture series I want to do on Russia in the next 30 days, but I need your help to do it. I need your encouragement. I need your follows, your likes, your clicks, your winks, your subscriptions, whatever the hell it all is. But let me wrap that up for you for now and say, if you would like to hear this whole lecture, I believe I can do it in an hour. And if you would like to see this entire lecture, then join me now on Twitch. And our Twitch channel, it's I know it's Plaid Avenger, one word, Plaid Avenger, but what's the whole Twitch thing? It's twitch.tv slash Plaid Avenger. Twitch.tv/Plaid Avenger. And we might even have the ever awesome, original, and only Plaid Avenger artist, Plaid Klaus, might be joining us, as long as he can get his kids into bed. So for now, we're out. Be tuning back in right at 8 o'clock for the lecture to relaunch. Party on. Now, if I can figure out how to stop this. End stream? Okay.